Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Recruiters with No Limits, always live and never scripted. I'm here with Katrina. My sidekick, John Ruffini, here. He had a couple assignments to go. He might stop in, but for now, it's just going to be me and Katrina. Johnny, we'll talk to you soon, buddy. So, Katrina, from the UK, what's going on?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, hey, we people from the United States, we always say, what's going on? And Katrina, look what I wore today.
What's going on? Well, let's see. Currently, it's late in the day, and I'm talking to you. And we're late because we didn't go live.
That's right.
That's what's going on. Does that mean something else? Is that a bit like what's up isn't actually I want to know what's up with you? It's just like hello.
Exactly. That's a lingo. Say, what's up? How's things going? Yes.
Oh, very well. Thank you.
All right. Can I say the pond? That's right, too, right? Across the pond, we're hanging out, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I am in London, UK. So
there we go. So, Katrina, real quick, let's just talk about yourself. I mean, you got a lot going on. So tell us a little bit about the history of you. I've read a little bit about it, how you fell into the industry. So give us a quick, a view from A to Z.
What, you mean people actually choose this industry? Actually, that's not true.
So.
In 19 years, I've met two people that choose this industry. So yes, I fell into the industry when I moved to London from Sydney, Australia, in case anyone's worked out my accent isn't English. In 2003. Yeah, so 19 years. I have been agency, I've been in-house, I've been a trainer. I have, of course, been asked and published the Robot Proof Recruiter, which I shamelessly plug. And these days, using all of that industry experience, I do three main things. I run design thinking workshops with companies to improve the candidate and experience in recruitment. I run a coaching mentoring program called The Collective with recruiters, and I keynote. I get to speak around the world. So, and obviously I write. Yeah. So that's basically. And I have shows and all sorts of
shows, and you have 1 million followers on Twitter. You have followers everywhere.
No. I do have followers everywhere, which is quite scary sometimes. But yeah, no, not that many.
Awesome. So let's just deep dive into the book first. What made you come up with this book? I mean, everybody says they're going to write one, but what made you actually do it?
Yeah, so people might be familiar with the purple cover, which is edition 1. So this is edition 2 that just got released in North America on the 30th. So just gone. Nice. In 2018, Kogan Page actually came to me, which is kind of mind-blowing because you don't usually have publishers come to you. So they were sent my way, but it was still mind-blowing. And they said, would you like to write a book? And I immediately went, yes, I want to talk about this rubbish that HR tech vendors can replace recruiters. Now, I know there's a huge HR tech event going on right now in Vegas, and I'm sure they're all talking about, we can replace recruiters. No, you can't. Quite simply. However, the way that recruiters, TA pros, HR, whatever you were, staffing, the way they use technology is pretty poor a lot of the time. There is just too much spamming and in-mauling, as Steve Levy loves to call it. There's just a lot of noise. So I wanted to write a book about how to use it to put the human first, to create a brilliant candidate experience, to make it easier to recruit. My whole experience has always been like in technology recruitment, and most of my clients have either been actually in general tech or healthcare. Of course, I've had others, but it's always where it's hard to recruit. So engineering, those sorts of spaces. And that's when it really matters. That's when you need to remove the obstacles between you and the human being, and use the technology to create a great experience. So
exactly,
that's where it came from. And to just stand by my point that technology won't replace us, there are still cashiers in the bank for a mundane transaction like withdrawing cash. So it's just like people want to deal with people for cash. They're going to want to deal with people for their career. It's their career, it's their livelihood. So. Yeah, that's where that came from. And I just, for anyone that's listening that has bought it, thank you. Because of you, I got to publish the 2nd edition. It needed a pandemic overhaul. And also because I donated my royalties to Hope for Justice charity, which aims to end modern day slavery, impacting over 40 million people. So again, extra thank you. Thank you.
That's incredible. Tell us a little about that program, that you're in, that you're volunteer with. I really want to deep dive into that because that's something amazing.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It was the brainchild of Ian Pettigrew. He just came up with this idea when he was having a trip to Uganda, like, why don't I get a whole load of HR professionals and me to go as a group to help the staff and carers of the charity. And so from doing that, and then I've been back again, and I think there's been 4 teams out because the pandemic has held us up. We will go back, but we're sort of in limbo waiting. But seeing firsthand how they took all of our knowledge and ran with it. And they also have created like outreach out in farms, stopping the stem of kids coming in from agriculture into the slums. And what that does is stop them getting picked up and trafficked or into the sex trade. And of course, how that links back to the UK is London is the global capital of people trafficking quite horrifically.
You gotta be kidding me. Wow.
Yeah, it's such a thoroughfare. So to me, it all links back. And as they are now, at that point, they were Retrack, and now they're part of Hope for Justice. And there are trafficking rings broken in the US by them. There was a massive one broken here in the UK a few years ago as well. So it's everywhere. But so much of it starts there. So if we can just stop that happening. It's extraordinary to think it still happens in this day and age, but it's profitable for criminals. So sadly, it happens.
That's something I never knew. Wow. So, you know what? And I think you have to tell people out there, Katrina, that actually in staffing, you should give back. You should join an organization. Don't you think all recruiters should step up and do something like that?
It's really interesting you say that, because I judged the Recruiter Awards. I think they're UK centric, but Recruiter Awards and the National Online Recruiter Awards, which is much more about people's websites and things like that. And we look for that. We look for those companies that are paying it forward. If I can, as a solopreneur, donate like the royalties from my book and a percentage of, the earnings that I generate with my services, with my workshops or the collective or whatever it is, if I can do that, everyone can do that. And it's it makes such a difference all the time. But again, you do need to find a charity that, you're completely bought into. I can't do enough for these people.
I love it.
How they work and they're amazing. So.
And for me, Breast Cancer Month is my big month. I do a podcast and I give back in October. So for me, that's like my month to give. I give all year round, but you really deep dive into something you believe in and help out.
Yeah. It's amazing what we can do.
Oh, it's amazing. If we put our mind
so please don't buy one book and share it. Buy one book for each recruiter. I really get frustrated when people go, I'm going to buy one and pass it around. No, please don't. It's only I don't know what it is. Actually, I don't know how many US dollars it is, but it's not much. So buy one each.
And did you say you'll autograph it for them too, Katrina?
If they're popping over to London, yeah, sure.
See, I was trying to get my issue autographed. See that? Oh, man.
Well, you get one from Amazon.com sent to me and I'll sign it and send it back.
There you go.
There you go.
So let's deep dive into I know you do a lot of training and you energize recruiters. So when you go into a facility or recruiters one-on-one, where do you start with them to do a big evaluation?
Well, I don't actually do training per se. So I do design thinking workshops. So how they differ is we go in and we go to tackle a problem. So it could be, we don't have a great relationship with hiring managers. I mean, that's often where so much of the focus of my work ends up being, because there's just this problem. I do a lot more in-house than in staffing, but it's to the great benefit of staffing because many of you partner with them. Mm-hmm. And so we will just start with what are the problems? And the joy of design thinking is everybody is heard, because you spend a lot of time using Post-it notes and Sharpies and, putting them up everywhere and heat mapping and voting on what the biggest problem is and brainstorming solutions. Everyone's heard. And I think that's quite cool, because often it's the quiet person in the room, not like you and I who probably talk over them, the quiet person over there that's always got this amazing idea that they just don't voice. So I've been loving doing that. When it comes to the collective, which is a coaching and mentoring space, I did actually only set it up last month, so it's growing, but I did have another program before it. It is so often is those human relationships. It's so often that we just have these friction with the hiring manager. We can't get the feedback. We're not really getting under the skin of the role. They won't give us the time. That to me, it's an intake strategy session. In fact, chapter 5 of this, which I crowdsourced. So Steve Levy, Maisha Cannon, Tanji Pettis really helped me with that chapter. it's all about the importance of that intake strategy session and that hiring manager time that makes all of the recruitment easy once you get that right. So much of my time is spent in that, because really that's kind of what's ruining candidate experience. Not always. Sometimes it's too much technology in the way, but so often it's just that, because the hiring managers are busy doing their job and they're not thinking, well, if I spend a little bit more time with the recruiter up front, I'm going to save so much time. And actually, if I don't treat that human right then and there in front of me, because I'm still thinking about my job, not that I'm interviewing, I'm going to impact future hiring, and I'm going to make it harder for myself. Particularly now. I mean, we were talking about this before you came on. Okay, you were specifically talking about Gen Z, but just that people, they've got picky, haven't they? People have got like really bold. It's awesome. By the way, anybody who's complaining about Gen Z, who happens to be my generation, you do realize they're that way because of us. Just throwing that out there. It's like, I hear boomers that like, so younger boomers in my age group, Gen X, complaining, and I'm like, they're our kids. So what are you
exactly
them? Yeah. And I do think the hilarious thing is, if we had the internet, if we had the ability to see everything, we'd have been exactly the same.
You're right.
We'd have been like, I want to work for something Pepper said. I want to be entrepreneurial. I want to, whatever else they want, flexible. I don't know what else they want. But sorry, I don't do that much with Gen Z, but we would have been the same if we'd had the technology that has enabled that. We didn't, like, in the book I talk about the internet was the huge game changer. Everyone talks about AI, right? No, it wasn't. It was the internet. The internet opened the door. The internet took away the black book from staffing, and then it opened the door to the company. And suddenly you can go, oh gosh, you don't treat your staff very well. I'm not going to go and work there, because I can go and see how many other jobs there are. I'm going over here. So it's that, the internet. I just think they're good. They're bold at using it.
I love Gen Zs.
This is my Gen Z understanding, and I don't know that many of them. Maybe my nephew.
Smart. They're never lazy either. They're not lazy at all. That's what we get here in America. People's like, oh, Gen Zs are lazy. They're just picky and they're smart. I mean, because they grew up on the iPhone and everything else.
Yeah, they're technology enabled. So it's and it can be intimidating if you have been a digital migrant, which I have. It was sort of there when I left school, and so not really at university. We're still using typewriters. So I've had to migrate onto using it. And the thing is, we love it. We use it. We're just not necessarily as confident. But I also think that people who have skills that are in demand are just as picky. They don't want to work for organizations that don't look after their people. They might want fully remote. They might want hybrid. They might want to go off. We don't know. We have to ask them. We have to cater for that. Actually, Shannon Smithstead asked earlier, I don't know if you saw the post. I think we share friends on Facebook, and she was asking like what it would take for me. I mean, who's worked for myself for 12 years. I've been working remote for 12 years as well. So it's like, I was doing it when it was hard. It's now easy. But what would it take for me to go in the office? And I was like, well, let's see. I'd need to better shut myself off so I couldn't hear anybody, because it's very distracting. And I want to be paid for my commute, because for the time I lose as well. I want to be able to take my dog to work. It's like, God, it would take a lot to get me to go.
Check mark after check mark.
I know. And it's like, you fussy person. That wasn't quite what I called myself.
Oh, too funny. Oh my goodness. Katrina, I got to ask you.
So because people can see the jobs, they don't have to settle.
Exactly. I totally agree. And I think that's what we, as a recruiter, you probably agree with this. We have to be patient with them now. We can't just tell them this is the job you need to take.
No, not at all. I mean, it was different. It was a different world. But also you think about, I can't think who was talking to me about this. I always like to say who I heard it from, and I'm just having a blank. But it was that when we started out, so much of what we did was, go to work and do a task. And so many of those tasks have been automated. So it's like, so we don't want to go to work and do a task now necessarily. That repetitive, I think one of my first proper job was like working in the bank. So as a teller in the bank, and it was very monotonous. And so much that, I mean, they've got those machines, even though they've still got cashiers. But it was monotonous. Task-based. You come in and you do this and you're paid to do this.
Exactly right. So I got to ask you, so do you think recruiters now, since they have technology, that they get a little bit I want to say easy, and just that they use the technology more instead of the human connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you want to know how recruiters are behaving, and again, Steve Levy credit, recruiting hell on Reddit, and you will see everything. Yeah,
we have a guest coming on. You ready for this? Look who is here.
No, Johnny. We have the circle of doom. But if anyone listening, if you want to be a better recruiter, go and have a look at the thread on recruiting hell, because hey, there he is. It will share everything you're doing wrong. So sorry, John, I had to finish my thread.
That's okay, and I apologize for being late.
I thought you had a hard stop in like 2 minutes.
No, I'm okay today.
That's determination.
That shifted. I just had some serious technical difficulties today, and I don't know why, but I finally found a way around it. I've been working diligently.
It's because Mercury is in retrograde.
a girl that I work with says that all the time.
That's true. This is what's for communication and technology for a couple of weeks, and then we'll be right.
You know what, Katrina? He was playing games with us. He wanted to come on late. You know that, so he can make an appearance. That's what it's about. You know that.
No, you saw right through me.
It's not going to happen.
Hey, Johnny, we were talking about the human connection, man, which I know you can just chime in on this about, like, technology is not going to replace the human connection. It's basically what we've been talking about. So,
not at all. It never will, no matter what they say.
No, and you can use it so well to create a much better bond. And in all levels. I mean, I talk about in the book about Yodel, which is a company here. It's a courier company. So they recruit drivers all the time. They have a fantastic chatbot. So the drivers can go on at 11 o'clock at night or whatever and look for a job. And it really helps them. It creates that human connection. They know they're talking to a chatbot. In that instance, it's brilliant because it actually makes the human feel better, because it's the same role over and over. But mind you, drivers are also in demand. But when you're looking at technology professionals, for example, they're not going to deal with that. They want a human. They want you to really, again, intake strategy session. You've got to understand that role. You need to know what's about that role is completely different. What's the problem they're going to solve, where they're going to be in 6 months, and you've got to get under the skin of it, and then you've got to communicate that, and not in an in-mall. Like, it's got to be. I'm quoting Steve Levy a lot here. You must know him. He's East Coast.
Yes. You gave him a shout out like 10 times. I love it. Steve, you get some shout outs today, brother.
He's so awesome. But it's like, well, yeah, he gives me all these terms and I just roll with it. Because also this is very collaborative, this book. There's like, I know I counted up, about 85 people contributed. I need to actually count it up. There were 74 in the first one, but there's even more now. So yeah. Wow. It's important to me because I don't want anyone to go, and when did you last recruit, Katrina? And I'll be like, good point. So I back it up with lots of examples of, this is what I hear and this is what I experienced, but this is who told me. So it's always, valid. I think that's really important.
Well, and the way that we stay current, I mean, we've all been doing this long enough. Maybe we're not actively 100% on a desk anymore, but the way that we stay current is by staying ingrained in the thick of things in the market and having that network of people who are doing it. And that's the only way we can convey and instruct others on how to evolve and adapt.
Exactly. And that's what I find, again, going back to these design thinking workshops, being able to take this modern methodology into the world of candidate experience and with these companies and the stuff you unearth, it's like quite fascinating that you don't necessarily get when you're sitting at the desk, but just sort of saying, somebody at some point created this process and that creates that friction. And you're just going, why? Like one of the best ones, actually, it was very much a HR thing. So they had bands. So the hiring manager would know the band was between $60,000 to $65,000, but could only offer like 62.5. Well, why don't you just make it 60 to 62.5, or make it 62.5? Like, and why? Like, why? Just what? And there was no why, but it was causing so much stress because somebody at some point eons ago decided, well, we're going to have bands, but you can only offer the middle.
That famous midpoint. And that always, the candidate, if you see a band, I like that term. If you see a band from 60 to 65, the candidate's always saying 65. The client or hiring manager, usually wants to see 60. So you talk about that midpoint and it just creates all kinds of questions.
Yeah. But it was the fact they literally were not allowed to offer more. They were only allowed to offer the middle.
It was posted more.
It was just, but again, it's this, I can come in as an outsider and look at it differently and run them through the process, and it just unearths stuff that you're like, okay, could we get rid of that then? Because all the time we want the humans coming through the process to have a better experience, because then they write lovely things about the company and the employees write lovely things about the company. And you can, and as you know, I'm sort of sensing John, I can't work out how old Richard is, but you know, we were recruiting pre the internet really having its impact. Now it's had its impact. It's like, if you've got a bad reputation, good luck.
You're done.
Yeah, good luck is right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Katrina, I got to ask you, over in the UK, like big here in the United States is the tech stack. Everybody just talks about the tech stack. And I hate to say it, they don't even bring the human connection in. It's like you need these 5 technology solutions to run your business. And I see a lot of staffing firms saying, wow, I'm spending all this money, but they're forgetting about the human connections, just the straight tech stack. Are you seeing that over your way?
Yeah, there's always big conversations about tech stack. I mean, there's so much focus on tools, technology, and data. And I'm always going, hello, we are people that recruit people for people. It's all about people. It's not about the technology. We're really weird, quirky human beings. I mean, Richard, you saw I was live earlier with Jess Larson, and she was talking about like just how different we all think and just how complicated we are as human beings. And you're trying to put them all in a room to work together. So why is there so much focus on that? I don't understand. I think there are absolutely brilliant tools that you can use. And I think, you know, certainly if an agency's got more of a CRM, so you're actually keeping in touch with candidates, you're sharing shows with them, you're giving them tips to be better at this horrible job search process, because it is horrible. It's dehumanizing, you know, building them up, making them feel great, you know, fantastic, do that. But just to use it to get in the way, at the end of the day, it's like, I have a job, I need a human being. And what happens is a piece of paper has to go from one to the other so that this one can read it and hopefully then get in contact. That's it. But we make it so hard to get a resume. I was going to call it a CV, a resume to a human being. It's block, 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 block. Got to do an psycho assessment before we talk about salary. Sorry. I'm having a rant.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You got me late in the day. I'm like ranting. Sorry, it's 6:35 here in the UK. It's rant time.
No, I was going to say, you bring up a great point in the sense that, you know, the technology, there's great technology out there, and we should definitely use it to complement our business and make our business more efficient. We can use data to help drive where we should be spending our time. And to your point, there are certain things that could be automated after that first initial connection, but that, you know, ultimately it's a people business. It's about relationships. So it shouldn't replace your people. It should complement them and help them do their jobs better, if in a perfect world.
Yeah. So you write a fantastic job advert, not job description, job advert that actually gets someone's attention and they apply. You then use technology to send them a GIF or something, right? Something fun and light. They've put their phone number in, send them a text or SMS or whatever we call it these days with a GIF in it saying, oh my gosh, I'm excited. If you don't hear from me, my God, chase me up. You know, I do get overwhelmed. I'm human. I make mistakes. You know, let people chase you. You want the people that chase you. How many do? Not that many.
Thank you.
Right. So what, because I have this conversation with in-house all the time. I'm like, would you please put your name against the job? Would you let them connect with you somewhere else? Would you let them chase you up? And they're like, I'm going, oh my God, 100 applications, 100 might call. No, they won't. You'd be lucky if one calls. Like, by the way, if you're a job seeker listening to this, please chase up your application. Follow it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Chase them up. Go find them. Go stalk them somewhere else, right? Go find out where else they follow them on Instagram.
I applied. I haven't heard back. I'm like, well, did you call? Well, no. Why not?
Because they're scared of the phone. These things, they make calls. It's amazing. Don't look at it. It's got messages on it.
They will make calls.
Sorry, I did. I just looked and went, oh, someone's messaged me. And now I really want to read the message. And I'm now like,
Hey, Johnny, me and Katrina were talking about it. We're all before the iPhone, you know, like we were talking about the Rolodex and like the old school stuff, you know, the old black book, you know, the good old days.
Actually, it's really cute. So my Labrador passed last year at 16, and it's fascinating watching the journey of the photos from his whole life. When we went from the old like stubby phone that didn't take a photo, and then you finally got one that did. Fascinating. Like, oh, we've come a long way. These things are actually almost made communication harder. You know, back in the day, a phone would ring and you would answer it. Oh, so classic. I watched, do you know Muriel's Wedding? That shocking Australian movie about No? Okay. It's very Australian. But it had an old 70s phone in it and they were dialing. And because it was ringing and so annoying, people would answer it. Communication was actually easier. Now, this is within reach and you call people and they don't answer. And it's like that.
It's
So
so
it's
easy now
actually
just
made it hard.
And how often
They
do you
don't
love it
answer,
when you
but then they
call
text
someone?
though, right?
Yeah, you call someone, they don't answer, and then you get a quick text right back from them. It's like, well, wait a minute, why didn't you answer the phone?
They don't want to talk to you on a phone, which is crazy.
Go
Or
figure.
they walk around talking like this. What is that? I can't work that one out. I've got I actually still hold it to my to my ear.
The old block phone.
Yeah. Do you remember when I had the bag as well? Oh, I made
Yeah, plug in
had
a
a bag
cigarette
for
lighter.
Absolutely.
But I'm
That was my
glad.
first.
I fall in that beautiful bridging generation that's been through what was before. And I think that's why I felt like I could write this book. I could talk about that because I know how to communicate. We had to communicate. You had to dial people on the phone like that. Okay, kids.
So
that's how you
Katrina,
do it.
getting to
Yeah.
that, do you think recruiters are scared of getting rejected now on the phone? That's why they like to text instead because of the voice.
Do you mean candidates? Are they scared of ringing candidates? See, I hear this and I can't quite get my head around it because
can't
I was
believe it either.
terrified of cold calling HR. Now that was scary. But ringing candidates was so exciting.
Yes.
Oh my God, John, can we talk? I've got this amazing job. I just think you might be okay for it. Can you talk? Right. Oh God, no, you can't right now. When can you talk? And I would always be so excited to ring people. I can't comprehend this. I'm scared.
That was one of the funnest parts of the business.
There's only one lot of people that you don't ring, and that's developers because they're like remembering so much in their head and they go into coding flow and you don't want to interrupt their coding flow, right? But everyone else just ring. What are they going to do? They'll answer if they've got time that's giving you permission to speak, or they'll let it slip to voicemail and then maybe text you back. But I don't get it. I literally think ringing people about jobs is so exciting. I must be weird.
No, you're not weird. No, that's recruiting is a combination of art and science. The science being all the data stuff, but what you're referring to is a part that's really lost, and that's the art of recruiting. And not a lot of recruiters have that, which is really good for those that do have it.
If you'd like to gain it, I highly recommend the Robot Proof Recruiter. And again, I did donate my royalties to charity, so do plug it shamelessly. But I talk all about that.
Was that a commercial?
That was a commercial for the Robot Proof Recruiter.
Very subtle, though. I like it.
Shamelessly. Do you know what? It's really funny. I think if I was lining my own pockets with it, I don't think I'd plug it how I do. And it is really beautiful because it's such a community book. There's so much stuff in there. But I think it's because I donate them. I'm just shameless. It's quite funny. Don't plug my own stuff as much. But honestly, John, that is the focus of my work. Just all about that human connection. And in fact, everything I do. Let's get back to that basic. Plus, you'd all film so many more roles with such ease if you just got to the point and spoke to people. Imagine how much time.
How about that?
Yep.
Yeah, how about that?
Well, you know what, guys? The job seekers want us to talk on the phone now. They want love. They don't want that robotic stuff. They've done that for 2 years with during COVID. They want to talk to somebody. They want to see somebody in person. They want to come in and meet with you.
And Richard, the data supports that because, you're the 60% or more is a combination of, millennials and Gen Zs, and Gen Zs are the first ones that were born into technology. They've had it all their lives. So data supports that because they're so used to it, they don't see the novelty in it. It's just part of life and they want that interaction. So it's, as that workforce grows, recruiters better learn how to communicate better because that candidate base is going to want it.
Yeah. And they have these extreme, like big networks. So I think of my nephew, who's totally a Gen Z, and he would play computer games, but they'd all be hooked in on Skype and stuff chatting while they were playing. So they've got these networks, these support networks. So we can't bring them into the workforce and take that away from them either, because it's a different way of thinking to what we grew up in little silos, put in your little box at work. You can't do that now. It's different. But again, if you think they're annoying, we created them. It's our fault.
I love it, John. That's so true or what? We created the
It's
Gen
very
Z.
true.
We did. We created the technology and we created the humans. It's like,
So don't complain.
let's stop complaining about them. We did it.
Oh, I love that thinking. That is so true now. Anybody that complains anymore, I'm going to say, why are you complaining? You created them.
Yeah,
It's your
isn't it
fault.
your child? It's your fault.
Your
I actually
fault,
don't
John.
have children. Technically, I don't have children. So hand on heart wasn't me, but I do have nephews. I see it, but I think it's wonderful. I think we have so much to learn from them as well. So much to learn. I love it. Good for them.
What's your forecast, Katrina, for the rest of the year over in the UK? Like, what do you see? Is there any big obstacles going on, like recession, anything like that going on in your side of the wood? Well,
Okay, well, obviously,
not a pond.
we have a mourning period to get through. And by the way, I'm very global focused. By the way, if anyone's listening, thinking, "Oh, she only," I'm not at all. I am not an economist, so don't sue me for this. But I don't believe we might be zero growth, but I don't believe we're going into a big downturn just yet. We may do. It's a cycle. We're totally going to do it, but it doesn't feel like 2020, does it? Where recruiters were let go and not getting jobs. Recruiters are being let go and getting jobs. I feel, with my non-economist, don't sue me, thinking is sorry, I'm not allowed to say that. We over downsized. Apparently I was saying overfired is a bit harsh, but we let too many people go in 2020. Maybe we overhired last year and now we're evening out. I feel like there's a lot of that going on. So that could be a stumbling block where it looks like, but also look behind it. If a company is suddenly letting go of people, are they letting go of deadwood stroke? Are they letting go of people to sell? Because they do all and they're not doing well. No, actually, they're going to sell. So they've just dropped all of the people functions, talent acquisition, marketing.
All the baggage. I hate to say it, but
all the fluffy ones that actually do a hell of a lot of good for the company. So there's that. So this is, in my humble opinion, what I'm seeing going on. But, I'm UK, Europe. We, of course, we're still, companies are still recruiting here, even with our cost of living crisis going on. So it's, that's, I hope we don't talk ourselves into a really bad recession. And I feel like the press is doing that. I did see a lovely article. Yeah. And again, I'm not an economist. Please don't sue me. I did see a lovely article of a company being like, no, actually, we're going to make sure that we keep our people because we just know this is a cycle and we don't want to be behind. Because that's the other thing. You go on a hiring freeze, you get rid of your team, and then you think, okay, well, we're going to start recruiting again in 3 months. Well, you need to start now. So you can't just recruit your hiring team again like the week before and then think, oh, you'll be another 3 months behind. There's all this crazy stuff going on. I'm trying to find the quote. It's on my desk. Elizabeth Lemke said this brilliant thing that we should never hire anybody unless we know we're going to keep them through a downturn. And I just thought, imagine if every company, that's totally her. I was having a conversation with her yesterday. I just thought that's absolutely brilliant.
That is,
we shouldn't do that. And we should go inside first as well. Obviously, you don't want to hear that because you're staffing. But before they come out to you, they should be asking their own teams, who can we recruit? And then go out.
No, I agree. Companies should promote from within. And we have I'm part of a big organization, and we have a lot of people that come in one group and then will move and transfer into other groups in the company. Right. And anytime there's an opening internally, we always look internal first. And companies should. You should be hiring, to your point. We want people that are going to blend in with our culture and that we want to be with this company long term, regardless of what role you play. So I think companies should do that.
Yeah, they should. And they should. But again, that'll go back to manager, like training, coaching, like it's okay to let go of your team member. Because really, even though they might be doing a good job, they're probably not thriving if they're looking in a whole other department. But it's also that thing, you start in one role and then you might be sitting going, oh, that marketing looks really interesting. I want to do that. Well, let them go and try, because then you'll keep them. And that's cheaper than getting a whole new person in all the time.
Yeah, there's always two sides. Sometimes you just don't hire the right person. Sometimes you hire the right person, but into the wrong role. So
exactly,
you've got to be willing to admit that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's complicated job we do.
We are in some exciting time. John, do you have any more questions for Katrina?
I apologize for being late, but I've enjoyed the conversation that we've had, and I support the work that you're doing and the passion you have for
Thank
it.
you.
So I appreciate you being on.
Thank
Exactly.
you so much.
And she's giving back too, John. We talked about it a little bit earlier about, some of the initiatives she's giving back to real quick. Katrina, just want to bring it up real quick to John one more time about your organization that you support.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, if you book me for a workshop, that goes in my pocket. But if you purchase this, I donated my royalties to Hope for Justice charity, which aims to end modern day slavery, impacting 40 million people. So, globally. Yeah, and I've seen firsthand the work they do, and it was all the brainchild of Ian Pettigrew. And I talk about it in the preface as well, so you can read all about it. Feel free to ask any questions. But I cannot do enough for the people at that charity. It's their work is extraordinary, so it's amazing.
That's good stuff. So Katrina, where can everybody find you? I mean, you're everywhere on the internet. So what's the easiest way to find you?
Google me. And don't press on any of those freeze frames that look awful. Can you press on the nice ones so that the Google images changes? No. KatrinaCollier.com. I mean, yes, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. I am everywhere. I'm not on TikTok though. I'm thinking about it, but I feel like I'm just maybe too old for TikTok.
No. I'm all right. You got to do it. I love it.
I'm older than you.
Not by much.
I'm not sure. This is me part of going.
We won't talk about age right now.
But actually, if you're talking about the generation that you're wanting, maybe they do need to hear this, the excitement and how you can go about making calls to candidates and how excited that is. Maybe I should be on there talking.
Exactly.
Maybe they'd be okay to hear it from an old fart. Anyway, I'm not supposed to swear, am I? Anyway.
Did you say that? Wait, Katrina, thank you again for coming on. I love your energy. I love what you're doing for everything over, across the whole globe here. You're making a big difference. We'll have to have you on again.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave on this note. You know what I'm going to leave on? It's in my head. I played it in a promo, right? All you need is love. Recruiters, job seekers, all we need is love. Yes. Play a little Beatles today for everybody. But that's it for me. I can't sing, but it's all good. Hey, thank you so much, Katrina. We'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.